All right. Now we're going to answer the big question. How powerful is the President of the United States of America? Very. We're going to see how very. All right. So, to get things started off, I can speak. Founding fathers had some ideas. They thought that no tyrant could lead free peoples, so they had to limit the powers of the president. Um, and there was a lot of debate on how weak or how strong this presidential figure should be. A lot of what's in the Constitution is very broad, and that has led to some of our issues today. And we're going to take a look at them. Here we go. Article 2 of the Constitution is where the president powers comes from. It's what defines the presidency in the initial Constitution. Um, they're given command of the armed forces. They're given the ability to make treaties, approve or veto acts of Congress, send diplomats, grant pardons, and their most important job is to make sure that the laws passed by Congress and signed by him are enforced. Um, we'll look more into that as we go through this, but like they can enforce it by creating agencies. So like things like Homeland Security and all of the agencies that answer to it, like FBI and DEA, all those things, all those are actually run by technically the executive office by the president. A little bit more about Article 2. Essentially, it describes the duties that the president has, and it is so broad and loosely laid out, it's just painful. It's just sad. They could have said more, but they didn't. So over recent time, we've seen power of the president growing, just with the nature of it being a unitary body. A lot of power housed by one person. It's the most participated in elections, so the most people vote in it. And presidents themselves have been taking more and more power, pushing the power that they have further and further. All right. So how do we know if a president is becoming a tyrant? So some things to think about. 1952, just a day or two ago, President Truman takes total control of the steel mills in the United States. And this definitely gets fought in the Supreme Court. It's ruled that the Congress has power to do that, but not the president. You have presidents like George W. Bush, who's going to open up Guantanamo Bay as a prison for terrorists, and that's going to be ruled to be a congressional power and a violation of the Geneva Convention. Oof. President's really going to push these powers over time. We're just looking at the two. So from the president's perspective, their job is to do what the people want. Also, there's nowhere in the Constitution that says they can't do a lot of these things. I mean, the big argument is, show me where it says I can't. It's one of those cop-out arguments, but they have a point. So some presidents that take this really broad view of what they can and can't do are people like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, this guy here, Theodore Roosevelt, yes, they're related, and Abraham Lincoln. They are going to push their powers to the absolute max. FDR is going to do it during the Great Depression and World War II. Theodore Roosevelt creates things like the National Park System. Abraham Lincoln has to fight the Civil War. These guys flex their presidential muscles, and they're remembered as some of our best presidents. On the flip side, you have narrow views. People that say if it's not explicitly written in the Constitution, they can't do it. They believe that if it's not clearly defined, then they shouldn't have that power. Some examples of this are like William Taft, Calvin Coolidge, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan. If you've never heard of most of these, there's a reason. They're usually remembered as bad presidents. They don't do that much. They're kind of forgettable. If you know who anything about the Andy Griffith Show, even Andy Griffith makes fun of these guys for not doing anything. So, some formal duties, things that are laid out in the Constitution, particularly over the vice president. So, we're going to talk about him just a little bit. They preside over the Senate. And most importantly, they help decide the question of presidential disability. So the 25th Amendment, and I'm going to have it something where y'all look at this later this week, lays out what happens if the president's no longer able to do his job. Um, so if the president steps down and he's no longer capable of doing his duty, the vice president becomes president. Or if the majority of the members of the cabinet, so like the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Energy, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of Native American Affairs, there's a lot of them. If a majority of them and the vice president think that the president of the United States is no longer capable of doing their job, they can remove him from office and the vice president can become president. This has never actually happened. It would be insane if it did. Maybe it will someday, who knows? But in the event it comes up, 25th Amendment is there. That's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed this. Hope it was clear enough for you. Good luck with your assignments. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want to sign up for my iPass, shoot me an email and I'll put you on the list. Thanks.